name's Kendra Squire. It's Sunday, is it September 1st, 2019, and we're here at the Teacher's Place in Park City. Just got a couple questions for you. How are you guys today, first
Good.
of all? Good. Happy birthday, Grandma.
Thank you.
That's exciting. Did you have a favorite toy or game when you were a child?
Well, when I was a little girl, I remember one Christmas, Santa brought a doll to my sister and I and our best friend Helen that I talked about in earlier times. And the exciting thing about the little doll was had fingers that would interlock like this on its little hands. And that just seemed like that made it so much more real. We used to like to dress the dolls. And my mom would sew little doll clothes for our dolls. And when we got a little older, my sister Marilyn and I had, there were two sisters that lived down the street about a half a block away from us, Ralphine and Barbara Johnson, and they were members of the church. This was in California, and they would come and would set up Monopoly on the floor in the corner of our little living room and play Monopoly, and the game never finished. You know, when they had to go home, they would just kept the game and would continue the next time, on and on.
Yeah, that reminds me, we enjoyed playing Monopoly too, with a lot of friends. I always enjoyed the outdoor games more, like we used to play Any, I Over, where you'd throw a ball over the roof of the house and catch it on the other side, and kick the can, or we'd go out at night and when it was dark, and we did a lot of games. We used to play Bombardier we had a tree in the back. This was during the war years. And someone would be the pilot, and someone would be the co-pilot, and someone would be the gunner, and so forth. And so there was games like that.
Well, in our days, that was the big thing to play with the neighborhood and things like that, just night games, we called it. I remember too, as a girl, when we would go to my grandma Saban's house in Salem on occasions like Thanksgiving or something, and we had older boy cousins. There were a lot of girl cousins my age, or my sister's age, but the boy cousins were a few years older, and they were big and strong. It seems like they would take us and swing us around and things like that. It was just a lot of fun playing with the cousins.
It sounds like it. Okay, so describe a typical day as a child in elementary school, middle school, and high school. So kind of like the progression there of your school experience.
Elementary, junior high, and high school.
Yeah.
I went to Eastside Elementary School, and I had two close friends, John Anderson and Keith Hart, and they lived real close to where we did. We were on 12th Street and they were on 13th Street, but we often went to school together and played together at recess, and we just had a real fun time in elementary school. We had good teachers, and I never felt stressed. We did our share of pranks and so forth. And junior high was when I first started getting into the band and playing the trumpet, and really enjoyed that. In high school, I really enjoyed the band and the orchestra there. Mom used to come and bring us our lunch. She'd drive the car to school. We didn't live very many blocks away, but she would drive and we'd eat a really quick lunch so that we could do orchestra during the noontime. And but I had a lot of friends and a lot of activities, and went to a lot of dances, a lot of social things. I was the president of the seminary, and in those days, they had like senior prom and junior prom, or senior ball and junior prom. And one of the big dances of the year was the seminary dance. It wasn't just for seminary students, it was for everyone. And as president of the seminary, I was in charge of that, and I don't know, I just remember just having a really, really fun time. It was just a good experience.
But you did more than activities. You did well in your classes. You used to talk about your teachers in high school, what good teachers they were.
I really had good teachers. I think one of my loves for history came from Miss Newber. We had 3 or 4 what we call old maid school teachers. They weren't even from Idaho, they were from the Midwest, but they'd all come out together. They all got jobs teaching high school, Miss Rotman and Miss Newber and several others. But she was so good. She just made history come alive. It was world history, and Miss Hodges on trigonometry and algebra and geometry. She was just so, they just made it interesting, and I really enjoyed it.
Teachers definitely make or break.
They sure do
Classroom.
make a
They
difference,
do.
don't they?
Seriously.
Yeah.
What about you?
Well, I did kindergarten in Utah, in Payson, the old Petite school that's now a museum there, on the hill, just going from Payson to Salem. That's where my mother went to grade school. And the one memory I have was the school's up on the top of a hill, and during one of the lunch recesses, I followed my sister and her group down to the bottom of the hill, or maybe it was after school on our way home. And one of the little boys there was showing what a big brave thing he was, and he ate an earthworm. And that really impressed me as a little kindergartner. That's one of my main memories of kindergarten. Then we moved to California, and I went to a number of different, first grade, we were in Glendale. Second, what was the name of the school? I can't remember. Then second grade, we moved to Burbank and was in the Bret Hart School. And then third grade through sixth grade, we were in North Hollywood, and I went to Lancashire School and have a lot of memories there. Had the same teacher for 5th and 6th grade. She graduated with us. Her name was Mrs. Pettis. And we used to kind of make fun because she would use she had gray hair, white hair, and she would use bluing. I think they used to put it on their hair instead of the fancy colorings they have nowadays. And you could always tell when she'd done that because her hair would almost be purple. And we used to call her Mrs. Purple Pettis behind her back. But she was a good teacher. She really made us work hard. In junior high, I went to North Hollywood Junior High, and that was, I enjoyed it. It was hard work to have all the different teachers, and then high school, North Hollywood High School for the 3 years, and there it was a great time of my life because the LDS students, there was a small group in a very big high school, and we held together as a family almost. We would eat lunches together, and the school was very, I guess you'd say cliquish, because there were a lot of sort of social clubs organized, and they were usually sponsored by, each club would be sponsored by a sorority or a fraternity at UCLA or USC, and kind of prepping kids, you know, to come into their ranks when they went to college. So the LDS kids, members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, I should say, held together, and we tried to organize our own little group. We tried to set up a constitution and so forth. And it turned out that as we asked the institute director from USC to meet with us to see if this was right, something that we could do as members of the church, he came out one day and met with us and said, well, I'm going back to Salt Lake for a meeting with the brethren in Salt Lake, and I'll talk to them and see what they say. And when he came back from his institute, seminary and institute meetings, he said, well, they said that just wait a while, we've got something better coming. It reminded me of what the prophet Joseph said to Emma when the women were organizing, and he said, there's something, how does that go, Jane? Do you remember?
I've got something better for you.
There's something better, and then he organized the Relief Society. Well, Brother G. Byron Doan was his name. He later told us that they had been considering extending the seminary program beyond Utah and Idaho and starting the early morning seminary program. And because our high school was showing an interest in that, we became one of the first pilot programs for the early morning seminary program. And so that was my junior year. So I had junior and senior year of high school seminary, early morning, and that was just a tremendous part of my high school year. It's a great privilege. We had wonderful teachers.
You should mention that one of your graduates of North Hollywood High School, he was a senior when she was a sophomore, was
oh yes, and it was your mother, Sue. When she was in high school writing an assignment, she had to pick someone to write a little biography on, and she picked John Williams. And in her research, she found out that John Williams had been a student at North Hollywood High School, and we looked up, got my yearbook out, and found out that surely he was there, a senior when I was a sophomore.
Ate a lunch at the same table and just had no idea.
Really no idea who he would become, but
Right.
my sister did play in the orchestra with him. So.
That's wild, yeah. Okay, so what's the hardest part? What was the hardest part of raising 11 kids? But also some of like the best and worst.
Oh, the hardest part, I guess, was just all the keeping them all fed. And the best part was having all those girls to start with, signing them out to various responsibilities and helping in the kitchen and with the laundry. The kids, we used to have fun when it was the day together at the laundry. We had a whole bunch of the plastic laundry baskets, and we'd line them up and make a chain. Do you remember that, Jane? And we'd go from bedroom to bedroom, and they'd have to take the dirty clothes out of the hamper or drawer, whatever they were kept in, and sort them by whites and light colors and dark colors, and then choo-choo the train back to the laundry room. That was fun. It was always fun to work with the kids.
Yeah.
I always felt that I just had great confidence in Jane, and I was always amazed with the number of children, how well organized she kept them, and how clean she really kept the house. I know she doesn't think it was very clean, but she really did. She made that a high priority, that things were put away and so forth. So anyway, I didn't do as much as I should have done probably, but I had great confidence in her. So
one of the things that I think the kids didn't like at all, but when we lived in Idaho Falls, we had a young lady there in our ward that was quite a little artist, and I had her paint some little pictures on little plaques, one for each of the children. This area cleaned by Tom or Sue or
Think of
You still
someone
have
or
those,
whatever,
don't you?
yeah.
and we rotated the assignments of who was to clean which area, and we'd hang those signs up. I thought, well, this will make them, proud. I think I got the idea from a TV commercial that showed a guy painting lines up the middle of the street and hanging up, that he was so proud of the work he did, and so that gave me the idea to try to make them proud, but I think they all resented that.
Yeah, chores will be chores, right?
Well, they didn't like their friends knowing that they were
Oh.
responsible.
Oh, I see.
They would come in the house, they didn't like that.
Yeah, because then they had to prove it, right? What was some of the worst though? We got to hear some of the hardest things that were to have 11 kids.
Well,
Was there ever? I mean, I'm sure there was.
just keep being
Fighting
enough, you know,
against-
sometimes you just got tired of figuring out what to cook, you know, for the next meal.
Um,
So,
I guess was there ever like just a lot of noise?
well, yes.
I'll have to tell
Pretty
one
noisy.
one story that we've probably told before, but one night in Idaho Falls, when 3 of the children got sick at the same time, I don't know whether they'd eaten something or too much candy or something, and one of them, we got up and we were in our bedroom and they were in the other bedroom, and there were 3 of them in there. One of them threw up, and one of them wet their pants, and one of them did something, I can't remember. They were all sick, and we finally got all the sheets off and all the throw up cleaned up, and then we went into the bathroom. We had there were 2 sinks, and in those days they only had cloth diapers, it wasn't Pampers and whatnot like they have today. And it was the middle of the night, 3 o'clock. We finally got them all 3 back to sleep again. And Jean was one sink and I was in the other sink, and we were washing out all these dirty diapers and these bed sheets that were all contaminated with throw up and so forth. And I remember thinking, oh, and then all of a sudden it just struck me. And I looked at Jean and just started laughing. I said, what are you laughing at? The joys of family life. We're experiencing the joys of family life. And we both just sat down and laughed and laughed and laughed.
That's amazing. It's a good outlook on that situation for sure. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Okay, thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.